Hi everyone, Phoenix here, sharing previous works. This is an incomplete piece, so you might build up a bit of like anticipation. Try to not let that happen too greatly because it's just not going to go anywhere. It's going to stop at some point. But it's worth sharing still because there's a bit here and I'm sure it makes some points. And I just want to get everything out there that I've written in a much more easier to process and accessible fashion. Just for all time's sake. So this one, I titled it Purpose of Life, and I'm retitling it right now to Assholes, or As Souls and Assholes, alright? So, let us pretend for a moment that we are not in the Matrix, and then let me ask you these questions. What is reality? Who are we? What are we? Do we have a soul? What is the purpose of life, if we have one at all? These questions, however essential to some, bear little to no relevance to countless people I've spoken to in my lifetime. Seems more commonplace today to simply ignore the unseen, the more spiritual aspect of life, entirely in favor of more top-heavy pursuits. How often do you recall others choosing to neglect the spiritual side of their lives while embracing totally the material? It could be in the form of money, constant need for physical activity, excessive consumption of food, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, World of Warcraft, Netflix addiction, sex, or material goods and services, and greed for those things in general. At the end of the day, many people settle for the burger on the couch, taking in the program machine, as distractions for life are sold and also, unfortunately, received by billions of buyers around the globe. Many whom experience buyer's remorse when they realize halfway through life that they are still unsatisfied, despite achieving all those material outcomes and possessions that they believe define success and happiness for them. If one contemplates our consumerist lives in the world of marketing and advertising, which defines our inclines and all possible avenues in life, if one ponders on the corporatocracy with its arsehole self-interested profiteers strategizing where and when to dig a hole or where and when to drop a bomb next, when one considers such things as these, one further begins to understand that the common people are not to blame for merely being like fixated mice, addicted to prescribed cheese. At least not as much as the market should be blamed, which one is shaped by those who see us and treat us like mere livestock to be exploited, exchanged, if not contained in a box or slaughtered into a dream, or even tortured by a machine. There are numerous physical and invisible mechanisms set in place, and I blame those who set them in place to begin with, who further keep them regulated and updated and enforced indefinitely, whose soulless purpose it is to condition and shape us to focus more on the materialistic side of the coin, with materialistic wants, needs, and fears, and pressures to conform to the norm and play the same old game with minimal complaint, striving for the same material rewards, that mass-prescribed idea of a desirable ending. When one contemplates all that stuff, one realizes more and more that people's perspectives and even their self-incentives are deliberately shaped as carrots that have been indoctrinated into their senses from birth onward, being pulled to pursue false idols, false treasures, false exchanges for false endings that fail to truly fulfill the hearts of those who strived so hard to attain them. And then it finishes here. I wrote the next bit, it's called Assholes. So that section was Assholes, talking about the government and the systems in place, hidden mechanisms. And then now it's As Souls. And I've only started at the beginning of it and then I left it. As souls, So ultimately leading these people astray, who knows? That depends on the question of soul life and purpose. So I think that was meant to be at the top section from the previous section, and then it's meant to lead into as souls, question of soul and purpose. But I didn't get around to it. I didn't do it. But anyway, there's some interesting thoughts, and you know what? I agree. I agree with myself from where I was coming from then, even now, that we are, indoctrinated, and, propaganda is propagated, and crime is perpetuated deliberately to keep us in this fearful, susceptible, vulnerable state where we just do as we're told and we don't really think too much about it because we're being manipulated to exist at a denser vibration, at a lower frequency. Some might call it the root chakra level as opposed to the higher levels. And the root chakra, the level is where the groin is, and it's the color red, because it's like the rainbow, all the different colors through the chakras. Each one represents a different aspect of our functioning, and the red is the base. It's the base chakra. It's the first one, the root chakra, because it roots us to the physical world. It's our animalism, it's our physical drives, it's our fight, flight, sex, defend, survival, kill, and that's the way the world is. There is this corporatocracy who shapes people's incentives, gives them these prescribed notions of happiness, and then inevitably people end up dying disappointed or feeling hollow inside, not really maybe being that sad about it because they never really truly understood or came close to feeling or perceiving what it meant to be happy in the first place. They don't know what they're missing out on. Spiritual fulfillment. What the fuck's that? Right? These ideas aren't propagated as much as ideas of, buy the next this, the upgraded version of that, keep up with the Joneses, like that is the message that's taught in these consumerist capitalistic societies, where literally crime is perpetuated deliberately. They always arrest the symptoms and the symptomatic outcome and symptomatic criminals that are actually the result of a root cause which they tend to ignore, assuming that they themselves are not the root cause of the crimes themselves. They arrest the symptoms, but they don't deal with the cause. And there's a reason for that, because it keeps people in fear. When people are in fear, as I said, they're more vulnerable, susceptible, easier to manipulate without too much critical thinking being involved. It's hard to critically think when you're stuck in fight or flight. There's dense vibrations. All right? You don't want to be thinking about spirituality and purpose in life and meaning and why are we here and what's the end game and what's really going on and what's going to happen when we die. We don't even think about reincarnation. A lot of people don't even bother with that. People don't even bother with being that interested. A lot of people don't take any interest in concepts of psychology. And you think, well, if you're not interested in concepts that revolve around the fundamentals of how human nature works and how our brains and our minds work, which is like kind of relevant, I guess, if you're human and you, interact in a world full of other humans. If you're not even interested in that, then I'm like, Jesus, man. Because people are only, for the most part, a lot of them, who take the prescribed red pill. They just believe what they see, and they are shown a bare minimal. And it's not even a bare minimal of truth. I mean, yes, there's truth. We are part animal. We do have these drives. But there's so much more to that. But they keep us there. They keep us fearful, fight or flight, in need of their protection. And they keep us feeling fearful in the sense of feeling inadequate, self-inadequate. Always having to jump 99 hoops just so you could walk up to a potential mate and prove yourself worthy, which back in the day, when things were much simpler, you just find someone attractive on a hill, you make a move on them, they run away, maybe you chase them, not the most moralistic choice, or maybe you don't, let's just go with that one, or they don't run away, and bang bang, you're literally bang banging right there on the fucking hill. You know what I'm saying? It was that simple. You don't have to prove shit. You do what you do, you express what you feel, you let your heart and the compass of your heart and your intuition guide you. You don't spend 3/4 of your waking life, or 1/2 of your waking life, doing shit that you hate doing shit that you dread doing shit that's so monotonous, and it just hollows you out to the core, going through these endless repetitions of mediocre, mundane, pointless, cycles, just so you can make enough money to get that nice car, to get that nice house, fill it with nice things, buy nice clothing, wear a nice cologne, put on a pretty dress, buy the best makeup, right? So that you can prove yourself to be adequate enough to be worth someone's attention. And that's what it's about. Fear and sex. Fight, flight, fucking. And they're using a biological imperative, our need to find a mate and procreate. They're using that as the primary drive and incentive, which is why everything is based on sex, which is why consumerism is all based on sex. It's the carrot that keeps everyone running on the wheel of self-inadequacy, and the more they run on these wheels of self-inadequacy, the more they generate income, which allows them to purchase things and to afford events that they can take these people to, which hopefully will convince them that they are worth it, that they are worth the time, that they are worth essentially having sex with and pairing up with, potentially. They've turned what was a simple, oh, we seem to have chemistry, let's go for it and see where it takes us. They've taken that simple formula of just following your heart and not being so afraid that you've got to literally beat around the bush and jump these hoops, but just, just sharing yourself without fear of judgment. They've trained people to judge each other. They've trained everyone to be discriminate and, to then thus become fearful, have a low self-esteem, to be worried before they think, before you speak, be worried about how they express their true, genuine feelings and thoughts. Everything's all about, these days, especially with Facebook and this whole movement, social networking, it's all about having the ability to edit, to augment, to change at your own pace how people perceive you. It's all about control. It's not about authenticity. It's not about being genuine anymore. It's about managing impressions so that, like I said, you can convince people to believe that you're worth attaining whatever it is you want to attain, so that you can get that thing. Instead of just proving it, even the fact that you need to be so specialized to do some pretty basic jobs these days, and you need to waste so much time just to do one thing. And you don't even know if that's the one thing you want to do for so long of your life. So why do you want to invest so much time qualifying for it? Instead of just saying, look, I can do this, give me some basic screening tests and I'll fucking prove it, that I've got enough know to deal with day-to-day operations. Nope. No, we don't care so much about practicality. We want to know that you understand every single corner of theory surrounding the history of where this shit came from and surrounding where it is at now. Every fucking in and out possible, just in case. And then you're going to master all that. And when you master all that, then we'll let you fucking scrub the floor. You know what I'm saying? It's bullshit. It's to limit us into singular pathways that we exhaust ourselves. And then they trick us into this idea of, buy a house, get a mortgage, have an American dream or whatever you call it, wherever you are. And really, what is that? What is that but a large coffin that you spend 1/3 of your life paying off, even half your life paying off, just so by the time you retire from the job that you hate, you can just fall backwards into that bad boy and close the fucking lid. That's it. They're convincing you to commit to singular pathways that drain you of your creativity, of your true expression, of even knowing what you really deep down spiritually desire or need for nourishment. They're just pushing you down the singular pathways. They do it from school. You leave fucking high school and already parents and society is pressured to be like, okay, well, have you started thinking about what you want to do next, where you're going to go, which direction you want to go, where do you want to go? And these kids don't even know, so they're pressured. Like, oh, okay, well, that's the way the system is. I guess I've got to figure out what I want to do with my life. They make a choice. 10 years down the track, they'll look back thinking, fuck, I hate my job. Fuck, I've wasted so much time. I've just been sitting here, stagnating, haven't been evolving whatsoever. I made the wrong choice, but it's too late because I spent so long investing and spending money on my qualification for this There's no way I'm going to do it again for something else, and it's too late, so fuck it. And a lot of them stick it out to the end, and they live miserable fucking lives. You hear what I'm saying? Miserable fucking lives. And we weren't put here, or we weren't born into this place. Creation isn't just a random thing. This thing which is destined, is designated with functions, characteristics, qualities, values that you see surfacing in so many different ways, that it hints that there is something underlining everything that's happening here. There is a reason to be alive. It's not just a happenstance thing, and oh fuck it, because it's just a random chaotic thing, let's just give it a random chaotic fate and give it a miserable life. No. Life is here, I don't know, it might be too simple for some people, but life is here to be lived. Lived. And living isn't just breathing in and out and shitting and pissing and fucking until you die. That's not living. Working a 9 to 5 for half your life or more, that's not living. I mean, I have no problem with working. Toiling is good for the soul, and mastering your trade is good for the soul. But think about all the trades that we are offered to master, to specialize in, to get paid at least handsome amounts, what people would like to get paid to afford relatively good quality lives, right? They're all pretty shit. A lot of the jobs, they're pretty shit. There's some good ones, but a lot of it, like mining, and fucking... Generally, the worse the job, and the more immoral and the more dangerous it is to the atmosphere, and the more you really got to think, fuck, how's this going to weigh on my conscience doing this job? Like fucking slaughterhouses and shit. The worse the job, basically the better you get paid. The more the job is centered around caring for people or animals or the world and trying to help restore life or heal or nourish or advance life, how much funding do you think all those places get? How much do you think those employees get paid? Not as much as the people that are destroying the earth, not as much as the people who are slaughtering life, not as much as the people who exploit and abuse daily for much larger lump sum amounts of plastic, right? So we're forced into the system where all the pigeonholes reek of shit, right? And you gotta find a way to choose one, maybe two, a series of, if a job here, a job there, and make a cozy existence. Doing that half of your time, then going to your box and using the money that you earn besides essentials to afford nice things to help justify the time that you're investing in all this stuff that just really doesn't mean that much to you, to relieve yourself from the tension and anxiety and the stress and the mania and the madness and the depression that is being caused from you, a being with a brain that was designed to be sound, existing in a world that is clearly unsound. That's why everyone's fucking depressed or anxious, has all these psychological issues. And if it's not for those reasons, it's because they keep drumming up new definitions of psychological conditions to make sure that everybody fits in a box. And then it's a self-fulfilled prophecy. And everyone ends up being stuck and feeding the confirmation bias, this idea that they are sick and not in control, which once again makes it easier to be controlled. So it's a bit sad. Like it really does come down to that, about being tricked and duped, doing things we hate, getting stressed and depressed because we're living in an insane world, but having to justify it daily because, hey, that's normal, that's reality, everyone's doing it. But it's insane. A lot of what we pass off in our daily practices, in our institutions, in our fucking slaughterhouses, a lot of what is passed off and palmed off as normal, and people don't bat an eyelid over. It really shows how lost, how disconnected, how desensitized we have become, how much we have swallowed the cock of the government, how much we have followed that carrot and eaten the whole thing, orange and green. All right? We have bought into the illusion that happiness exists in things, in doing things,
Instead of realizing that true fulfillment and happiness and glory is something that is developed within, not from things, but within the self, and is something that from there you share with other people, and that's where happiness is at. That's where healing is at. That's what makes this ride worthwhile. Is connecting, is sharing, is learning and loving and evolving and helping. That's what makes you feel good. Contributing. Not contributing fast food, fatty fucking foods that gives people diabetes, obesity issues. Not working at a liquor store selling alcohol, cigarettes, lottery. Not working at a casino. Not working in the mines. Not working in slaughterhouses, abattoirs. This isn't the stuff that makes you happy. This is the stuff because you weren't designed to do this. We are creative forces created to create. Everything comes together and divides apart. We were made to love, to unite, and to further define new possibilities. But instead we're forced to do the same old fucking horrendous shit. And it's been going on this way so consistently, so much for so long, that people have literally just shut off and become disconnected. And they just, to the point where even with once upon a time as children, they realized was the truth, and then, you know, it was hammered into them that, oh no, this is the way it is, you're just being naive, you've got to grow up to the real world and get practical, and they have it hammered out of them, that faith. And that, you know, children, it doesn't matter what the color they are, if you don't teach them to be racist and they're in a playground, they'll just play with each other on the spot. They don't have anxiety. They're not depressed. I mean, it depends on the child. I'm sure, obviously, this world can be cruel, and it's, you know, and sometimes it's just the way it is. It is the way it is, and it's not necessarily anyone's fault but nature's. Sometimes the numbers don't line up in your favor. But for the most part, children who are yet to be forged by the hammer of societies and economies conditioning, they give us some really big clues on why we're meant to be here. Because what do children want to do? They want to explore. They want to learn. They want to create things. And they want to show their creations to their friends. You know, and share the magic and the wonder of life with each other. And they create life together and have fun together. And yes, they can hurt each other, and yes, we still have our half monkey fucking expressions and characteristics. And, you know, monkeys, chimpanzees are one of the only species that actually murders others of its own kind, and not just for survival or shows of power, but they will do it maliciously as a reaction out of ego, really, if someone feels insulted or jealous or envious of something that they want. And they'll murder. So we have that aspect of us. And that's where society, that's where the government, powers that be, the elite, and the hidden force at the top of that bad boy, that pyramid, all of it. That's where they want to keep us locked into that root chakra, base level, animalistic, fight or flight, so that hopefully one day, after so long of fighting, the totally pointless and mundane and boring fight, we can finally fuck. That's it. Do you think that's what life's about? You think you're here to work so that you can, you know, build up an impressive resume, build up an impressive list of stories to tell, exciting things you've done, so that, you know, you can show people the pretty cool things that you've got and fucking host, you know, entertain them? You think love is earned through entertainment? Because trust me, I've seen where love flourishes in households, and a lot of them, some of them don't even have mirrors, some of them don't have TVs, they don't watch the news, they don't watch television at all. They're not distracted and overcompensating and trying to fill a gap in their soul, in their heart, with technology, which is another thing that's been drummed into us to do. Supplant your depression, supplant your lacking, supplant your longing with technology. Get the next best thing. And they train you to increase your sense of pace so that you get bored quicker of things. And you need the next best thing. You need to keep spending money. And that's even more incentive to keep running on the wheel of a job that you fucking loathe. Or at least you just have no feelings towards. Or maybe it's not so bad. But rarely when you ask people, how's your work? How's your job? How's your day? They're not like, oh, it's fucking great. Oh, I love my job. It's amazing. I'm so privileged to do it. You do hear that? But more often than not, I'm talking generalizations here, majority. Because I'm speaking to the majority. More often than not, people aren't in love with their job. People aren't in love with their lifestyle. Because this world only presents multiple choice scenarios. And guess what? It's all about lesser of fucking evils. That's why everyone's depressed, because there is no good, healthy scenario to exist in. Those options are not on the page. So everybody just makes the most. Everyone just makes the most of what little shit they are gifted, that they are allowed, and that the government dare calls and deems to be privileges. What? So you take something that was free, essentially, originally, then you impose in it a set of laws and restrictions and guidelines and regulations, and you steal its freedom, essentially. You take it as a slave, as a livestock. You even give it a number on its birth certificate, which is in the stock exchange, because each stock, each livestock, each person, individual, has a value affixed to their name, a projected value estimated based on how much they are expected to make in their lifetime monetarily compared to the average, and also with additional information based on who they are, their status, affluence, how much money they've made, how much they're worth as an asset, because we're assets. We are the arse end of a machine, essentially, of a beast, and it sits on us daily. And we provide the cushioning, we provide the foundations for other motherfuckers to live fucking like kings. It's not even living like kings, it's living as kings. Alright? And we're just fucking little proletarian slaves, just hammering away at our pointless little existences, sheltered from the greater truth that there is more to life than what you have seen or been shown or been taught. There is more to life than what people deem to be normal, because they don't have a choice to do anything else. If you're locked in a cage and you have to do shit you hate doing around people you don't want to be around, but you have to do this in order to get by, in order to keep getting fed, in order to have shelter from the elements, well, it's probably a bit predictable what you will end up doing. But you would go utterly mad living in that stark, obvious existence of a cage, doing shit you hate with people you don't like, just to survive. So it's a bit of effort on your part, it's a bit of effort on the system's part and the government's part. They will do what they can to dress everything up, and like I said, present it as fool's gold, and give you and deliver to you prescripted ideologies that dictate that value is derived from things. Value is derived from money. Success is made up of how much money you make, how much things you gain, how much you travel. So they give these prescribed ideas. So it's not so obvious that it's a cage, but it's wrapped up in gift wrap. It's a gift. We're gifting you some we've taken your privilege, we've taken you as a slave, but now we're gifting back to you some privileges. We're gifting back to you some freedom. And a lot of the time you have to still earn your basic freedoms, because if you don't do the shit you don't hate, guess what? You're still in the actual cage. You're not going to get fed. You're not going to have protection from the elements. You're going to die, or struggle to live a meaningful, fruitful existence in cohesion with your community. You'll be ostracized. That's the other thing, the big brother effect, right? So they put a bit of effort in, and they sell you an idea, a pill, to make it all just go down easier. And then you put a little bit of effort in, because you don't want to go utterly fucking mad in a stark cage doing shit you hate with people you don't like. So you take the pill. You take the prescribed ideology of this is what happiness looks like. This is what success looks like. This is what your life is about, and there is nothing more to it. You take it, and you make it your fucking gospel. You take it as your own truth, not because you want to, not because you would have originated these same ideas and beliefs by your lonesome, if you hadn't, if you didn't need to, but it's because you have to. You have to, because you don't have a choice. So we lie to ourselves. And it's to, instead of going completely fucking mad, I guess it serves a purpose. And it's understandable that we buy into these convenient lies, even though they're, and we take them as our truth, because it just makes it easier to go through these motions, these meaningless, painstakingly, eternally empty motions, without going utterly fucking mad. Instead, we just go a little fucking mad. Just a little bit. It's a little bit easier now that we've got this narrative to round off the edges, to soften the blow of the whip. But that's why you still have depression going rampant. You've got suicide rates, because people aren't happy. People aren't happy with these things. They're not convinced of the truths that they will never give up and that they will never admit are not founded in reality. They will not give up those truths that the government prescribed to them to make the pill easier to swallow of their reality, because they can't. Because to do so would mean to move from being depressed and anxious and all this stuff, which is manageable if you take the right drugs. And there's another fucking factor. And that's why they make sure that everyone fits into a box of a condition, so that everyone can get loaded up on something. And guess what? Most of the time, the side effects, they're not side effects, they're just overall effects. And they put the negative effects as side effects, so it seems trivialized. And it's not, these are the main effects, the positive ones. These are just little side. Drugs aren't bad. The pharmaceutical companies, they're fucked. And they're corrupt. And these things, yes, they might help, but they help provide numbness or relieve the intensity of a lot of the conditions that are created and perpetuated because of the system we live in. And then they further fuck us up and make us easier to dominate and to manipulate without question, with also the use of drugs, and make sure that everyone has a reason to take some. Right? So we're depressed, we're not happy, and people, like I said, they cannot give up their idea of their narrative, their justification for all of it, the truth. They can't give it up, because to do so would be suicide. So if you're watching this now and you're saying, oh, well, and people like to, when they find somebody who is in opposition to what they want to believe or to their worldview, and there's a bit of dissonance there, if they don't, just repress it and just click stop and not watch, and if they don't justify to themselves why their worldview is still the superior one or the more meaningful, accurate one, then what they will do instead is do anything they can to take whatever they can, twist it any which way they will, and then blow it to extremes. And typically they'll associate whatever that extreme version of those few twisted aspects of a person's message, they'll take that, they'll twist it, they'll put it to extremes, and then they'll associate it with extremists who are nearest to those bent, distorted types of messages that are supposedly being intended. So someone might look at this and say, oh, well, this guy's just an anarchist, fuck the system, is hard luck on life, and he's just like shitting on everything. He's a shitter, conspiracy nut. And they do colloquialize and normalize these terms and these ridiculing, undermining, condescending uses of phrase. They normalize it and make it popular to do this through film, through news, through literature, so that people find it easier to dismiss the black sheep, even if the black sheep, ironically, is the one that's trying to shed light to make everyone else's wool come out cleaner, to make them happier, healthier. But no, you don't conform to our sickness. Sorry, you're not as retarded as us, and you're not as hell-bent on destruction and living a totally empty and depressing life. So fuck off, you weirdo. Now that's weird. Well, it's not weird. It's just astounding how reverse things can get. And like I said, people don't have a choice, so they speak in reverse tongues. They point with 3 fingers pointing back at them, and they don't even know it. They don't even see it, because the other thing that's elevated is our ego. All about the ego, which is tied in with that feeling of inadequacy. And I believe that really we're all connected fundamentally by the same information, by the same energy, life force, chi. Right? We're all chi needs in a way. We're all of that same life force. And I think, just as in the story of the Bible, the idea, fuck the Bible, but the idea of when they had the apple, they became self-aware and then started to compare each other, and they became self-conscious and embarrassed. And that's where judgment was born, was through knowledge of the self. Because I believe that originally there might have been like a hive mind thing, where we were more intuitively interlaced with each other and connected, and we didn't need so many words, because we had other ways to communicate, and we could read each other's body language, and we could sense each other's energy. Alright? And now we're lost in a world of thousands of subcultures composed of thousands of different activities and fucking things, all with 1,000 different ways of defining it each. And we're raised first and foremost with a name, so that automatically makes you a separate, unique individual. And yeah, it's useful, alright? Because, you can only go so far. It's like, hey, you, no, not you, no, not you, you're going to, that, I get it. But, that said, it does psychologically create a box. Like the Phoenix box. I changed my name to Phoenix when I was 13 from James, because I wanted to choose a name that represented fluidity, adaptation, constant change, openness, because I didn't want to be limited to a box of, oh, I'm James, I'm this person, I'm this civilian with this name, I'm a fixed identity, all self-contained. Because I do believe that who we are extends beyond ourself. You know what I mean? Realize, real lies. And the real truth lies in our heart, and we all connect through our heart. And we all know the truth when we see it, because we feel it. And we all speak the same universal language despite the sound of our words. We're all connected, fundamentally connected, and very powerful when we work together. So they give you a name, they give you a box, and then you're raised to really prioritize working on your backstory. Make sure you build up your resume. Make sure you build up your list of interesting experiences that you can tell people about, your story, your narrative, so that you can appear more interesting to people. They make it about ego. They make it about stroking your ego, narcissistically or whatever which way. And this turns the we that used to move together like a herd into a me that just moves based on, well, whatever I want, fuck everyone else, right? Or whatever my family needs, whatever my best friends need, fuck everyone else. Alright, old values like caring about the neighbor, being altruistic, philanthropic, that was really tricky. Sorry, right? These things aren't indoctrinated into us. And I say indoctrinated even though they're positive terms, because every time that you impart information to another person, you're indoctrinated. I'm indoctrinating you now because I am putting ideas into your doctrine. So I am indoctrinating you. We have a doctrine. This doctrine is made up of values, beliefs, assumptions, attitudes, protocol. The things you look to as your guidebook to make sense of the world, to breathe meaning into it, and to guide your actions so you know how to interact, how to respond, what's appropriate. And there's good indoctrinations, but most of the time, if it's institutions we're talking about, if it's the corporatocracy, the global farm and co, then it's not healthy indoctrinations. They will put all kinds of information in you, disinformation, that steals you away from the truth, or more so, blocks the truth from entering your heart. So you no longer have that universal language. So you're too fixated up your own butthole, sniffing your own farts, caring too much about your ego, your backstory, even if that means that it has to be at the expense sometimes of others and the environment. You will do whatever you need to do to procure that sense of, okay, I'm fine, I'm good. People can see me, and that's fine because I appear good. And I'm on a good path to good things. My life is good. Even if you've got to be a totally bad person doing totally bad things, accumulating rubbish, that's what we're taught to think. Everything is backwards. Like, live. Evil. And life is evil now. What is normal, what people don't bat an eyelid on because they're disconnected from that universal language of love, harmony, wanting to help each other, be altruistic, compassion. It's not cool to be compassionate. These days, I'm in Australia, I see people walking around the city with their nose held up high and these bitter faces. Like they're all fucking just eating sour grapes, man. But it's not like they're all just depressed or angry or morose or whatever. There's a sense that a lot of the people, it's hard to define how I perceive this, but you can sense that it's kind of like a sign of strength, even austerity, or something to be respected. The fact that these people are so independent. Yeah, and I'm not weak. I don't care for other people. That homeless person, that makes me feel good about myself. The fact that I don't care, because caring is weak. Because compassion is weak. Because acting towards the we, the community, is weak. But being selfish and doing what you need to do to attain your dream, to make your dream a reality, that's totally good. That's totally fine. That's promoted. And a lot of the time, the dreams, once again, that are prescribed, subliminally indoctrinated, and overtly oppressed onto you, pushed onto you, those dreams are just different fragments of a collective nightmare. And as long as you can convince yourself, yeah, okay, I swallow the pill. Yep, this is my dream. Yep, this is the narrative I'm happy to use to justify everything. It makes it easier. And I can afford doing a decent life of stimulus, positive stimulus, gratuitous gratification. So I'll just do it. Then you can do that. And even if that means that other people in the world are impacted by the actual nightmare that you aren't necessarily, maybe actively contributing to. Maybe you don't have one of these horrendous jobs and you're not pushing the levers and turning the cogs of some of the horrible things that happen in the world. Maybe you're not contributing to that. So you're not contributing directly in that sense to the people that bite the short end of the fucking bullet of the Mac Happy Meal gun that's given to you in your Happy Meal box. Pull out the gun, has on their wrist and prescribed dream. This is my dream. Fire away to pursue your dream. Somebody gets hit with a fucking bullet when you fire that gun. That's if you're actively contributing. But even if you're not actively contributing, and you are at least on the realm of consciousness, playing the same conformist game and singing to the same tune and saying, yeah, no, even if you're not doing it, if you're saying it to people, like that's acceptable, and you're encouraging things, condoning things, then you're not as bad as those pulling the trigger, but you're as bad as the people that are around the person with the gun saying, oh, yeah, that's the dream in his hand right there. That's the dream. He's going to pursue his vision. Man, I wish I could do the same. That's great. That's inspirational. Oh, damn, look at him go for it. Oh, yeah, don't worry about that guy, whatever. Look at him go for it. You're just as bad, in a way. He's still pretty bad. So, I guess this all came from this piece that I wrote that, like I said, it was talking about the powers that be, about the institutions that we live in. And I get it that, we're like cockroaches. If there was an uprising or a successful revolution it would fail miserably. Why? Because they've got the bombs, as fucking Bill Hicks would say. They've got the big fucking insect spray can, the death spray. And even if every single fucking man, woman, and child on this planet that wasn't a soldier or part of these powers that be and their fucking executive functioning arms, even if every other civilian and proletarian united, all fucking trillions and trillions of cockroaches merging together as one powerful fucking force, standing strong, pushing through, trying to force for change, what would happen? Well, the powers that be would just pull out their little spray can and a few of those little cockroaches would drop dead. Maybe the brave few would persist. Those brave few drop dead. And then the not so brave many scurry away. Because fuck dying for a future of freedom and liberation where creative potential can reach its fullest peak. Fuck that. I'd rather just keep living in submission, keep living in a lie, please. Yeah, I don't want to die for a better future for my kids. Fuck that. I selfishly just want to live a good life. It's comfortable. So I'll just turn a blind eye now to all the evil in the world, all the wicked ways. I'll just make the most. And if you can give me some sugared up narratives to make things easier, I'll fucking swallow them happy, please. Thank you. Bullshit. But that's what would happen. There's no way we could beat them because we've let them get to this point where they truly are in dominion. Yo, this fluent dominion kept us consumed in this prison. So we do have to make that choice if we ever did want to change of, okay, are we willing to truly sacrifice everything we hold dear for that one thing that might just be a little bit more precious? Freedom, life itself, the future of life, the future. Fuck history, man, because it keeps repeating itself, because people, understandably, keep acting in cycles of fear and flight, right? Fight and flight. So nobody's willing to make the big shots and to follow through, regardless of what that means. And that's a statement. That's a statement to make and to back up that I am willing to do whatever it takes to ensure a better future that doesn't look like our previous history. I am willing to do whatever it takes, whatever that means. It's easy to say it, but could you imagine a world of people banding together because they feel the conviction so strong in their hearts that this is just flesh and blood, this is a temporal existence, but what is much greater than this, greater than you, greater than me, her, she, your child, your mum, your fucking teacher, your coach? Yes, these are all loved and cherished people or souls, but nothing dies here. We're just suits with consciousness acting out through us on this stage of life. And like I said, it's been repressed so that we don't feel and we don't hear the truth that's in our heart. Instead, we just keep repeating what was written on the blackboard, all these regurgitated and repeated, indoctrinated cues and prompts and affirmations of total fallacious natures. We keep repeating in our head so that we can better swallow the totally fallacious world of lies, world of being backward. We're cut off from that source within our heart. So could you imagine that people would have the conviction to say, yes, I'm willing to live, to die. I'm willing to die so that life may live in the future unhindered and free to evolve without restraint, following its natural, innate qualities and propulsions of love, harmony. Yes, there will be violence. Yes, there will be folly. But there's no wisdom without folly. But instead of us learning to make our own mistakes and choosing to act out violently or lovingly out of our own free will, we have a very small percentage, less than 1%, of entities in this world who instead call the shots on what our world should look like and what our system should look like, the features, the surface features, the values, the motivators of the game, the incentives, the rewards, the way the game is played, every possible pathways you're not allowed to take. Instead, we have these people deciding the ways in which we should be violent. We have these people deciding the ways in which we should love. And they don't promote the idea of love as much as they do lust, which once again ties us down to our base level, monkey-brained way of behaving. And it's not right that a very small few has taken the globe in the palm of their hand and fashioned out of it a game that imprisons the players who are forced and coerced and manipulated to play along unfair rules, leading to disastrous, evil outcomes. Evil being the opposite of life, live. Deadly, fatal outcomes that the imprisoned inmates are forced to play and contribute to all of this horrid mess to survive or to justify the pain and live the subscribed narrative that they choose to swallow. It's not fair that they choose how we express our qualities, our characteristics, both as an animal and as consciousness itself, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it a master puppeteer or a master puzzler, arranging the pieces, making different pictures, but all in unison, whatever way you want to look at it as. We're not in control of how we choose and express to show our fuck-ups, as well as our majesty and our glory, and how much virtue we are capable of holding within us, how beautiful and compassionate and powerful we truly have the potential and true capacity to be. So could you imagine people having conviction and all of that enough? Conviction against these people with the world in the palm of their hand, enough to put their bodies, their temporal bodies, on the line so that the rest of history can be written differently. Do you really think that people, despite all this selfishness that has been trained into them, do you think people can be selfless enough that they can look beyond the surface of physical pain, the physical body, everything they'd be losing, to make the ultimate sacrifice so that we can achieve a true triumph that will lead to a future that holds much more promise, at least some promise at all, of fulfillment for the life that follows? Because there's no promise of that in this life. There's no promise of fulfillment. It's very hard to be fulfilled in a world whose principles is based on competition, manipulation, deception, exploitation, where the very cogs and gears of the economy are based on that. You manipulate the customer, you deceive them, whatever it takes to get the sale, to close the sale. Alright, manipulation, deception, exploitation, that's even a term in the economy. Exploiting the masses in order to make profit. This world and our economy and our systems, they're founded on these principles which do adverse things to our inherent nature that is good. That does want to be a liberating force, helping to free people from chains, helping to heal people from wounds, helping to heal sadness with a laugh, a smile, a joke, helping to heal loneliness with a hug, with love, helping to heal doubt with trust and acts of allowing yourself to be seen vulnerable when you are vulnerable. Establishing trust and overcoming doubt through allowing intimacy, not just between those that have jumped enough hoops with us personally for us to be comfortable to be intimate with them, but I mean with people on a bus, on a train that you don't know, but you can still look them in the eye and be like, hey brother, yeah, we're in this together. People are so afraid that they've shut off and they've closed their eyes, and if we keep doing this, the wheels are just going to keep on turning, the machine's just going to keep on getting stronger. Eventually our souls will be snuffed out, and like I said, it might not be that bad for everyone, but I can guarantee you this, it's not going to be that great either. Our plateau on our levels of fulfillment and happiness will not lift that far off the ground. Yes, we'll be constantly entertained or distracted. That isn't happiness. If you need to be constantly entertained and constantly distracted and constantly putting something in your mouth, alright? Or constantly with other people and having them stroking your ego or giving you affection, nourishment, which is essential. But all I'm saying is if you constantly need all these things, the entertainment, the distraction, the stimulus, to feel okay, just to feel okay, because the second it stops and you are left with your nothing but yourself and nothing else to focus on, then you find yourself falling into an abyss of misery. So you do what you can to stave that reality off, to keep it away. No, I'm fine. I'm laughing because I'm watching a comedy special. Life is great. Fuck, I hate my life. Fuck, I got work tomorrow. Shit. Oh well, I'll just smoke some marijuana or have some speed and then I won't have to bother with those feelings. So the question isn't, do you think that the people would ever be brave and courageous and strong enough to do whatever is necessary to ensure true happiness in a free life where possibility for a multitude of different systems to emerge, a multitude of different expressions to take form, different qualities to be once again acquainted with and fortified and brought out once again into the world, like chivalry, respect, honor, virtue, integrity, authenticity, compassion, altruism, love, trust. The question isn't do you think the people will do what's necessary to allow that world that is worth living in, that we can actually feel alive in? Do you think they will do what it takes to do it? Do you think they will do whatever is necessary to make that happen? That's not the question. You know what the question is? Would you watching this video and hearing these words right now, in your heart of hearts, if you try to push the fear indoctrinated in your mind, these attachments you have to your bodily form and everything you've been taught that means, that once you're dead it's over, if you put that aside, do you believe that if you knew that other people would also be in there with you, would you sacrifice your mortality, your freedom, your conveniences? I know I'm starting from the worst and descending, but would you sacrifice everything, even allow your family to be brought into danger because they too are making the same choice along your side? Would you do that so that we can finally live on our feet instead of being bound in chains with fucking blindfolds on with pretty pictures painted on the inside? Would you die so that humans have a chance to live? So that humans have a chance to remember what it means to be human and to become self-actualized human beings, not machines doings. Or human doings. But we are more like machines. So you know what? You are the people. You are one pigment of this painting. And you've got to ask, where do you stand? Because depending on where you stand, that's what forms the picture of the world that you are responsible for painting.